fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull. When you tune in to the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. You got Craig and TK and Head tune in at the fish report.
Coming to you live from Studio F in Russia, Ohio. It's the Fish Report Live Show with your hosts, Craig Fissinger and Ken Francis.
Tune in to the fish report.
Welcome, everyone, to another Fish Report Live. I'm Craig Fissinger. That is Ken Francis. Of course, back in the sound room, we have TK and Heavy D. We're going to be joining those two guys here in just a little bit. And Ken, a milestone show tonight for us, our 150th episode. We're going to have a little bit of fun with that tonight, as well as do what we do best and another live interview with a very special guest.
That's for sure, Craig. A big milestone, like you said, 150th show, Craig. We've made it a lot longer than some of the old sitcoms of the world.
Right.
So, but yeah, pretty proud of the guys out back and or the guys in the sound room, and awful proud of you. And it's been a lot of fun, Craig. And looking forward tonight. We're going to recap our top 10 shows of all time based on our feeds that we get from our data based on our viewing audience. And also, Craig, big interview tonight with the leader of the basketball world in the media coverage. That's Jim Dabbelt from the Dabbelt Report. He's been covering high school girls basketball for 31 years. We'll get his take on the upcoming state basketball tournament this weekend and hear what he has to say about the chances of the Jackson Center Tigers bringing home the trophy.
Yeah, a lot of fun coming up tonight. Can't wait to get to all that. But before we do, tonight's poll question kind of has to do with those 150 episodes we've been showing.
Yes, it does, Craig. To our listeners out there, our viewers, what is your favorite way to watch Fish Report live? As you know, everybody knows we can, of course, watch us live on the FRL homepage. You can watch the replay anytime you want on YouTube, NK Telco channel, and also Game Face Ohio. So of those four options, how do you typically watch our show?
All right. Of course, the people that are watching us now are watching us on the FRL. Well, if you're going to answer the question, you're watching us on the FRL page. But we'd like to get your response on that. So if you're watching us live right now, you can answer that trivia question. Check the results out. If you're watching us on Game Face Ohio or NK Telco, you'll have to wait for the answer at the end of the show. All right, Ken. Well, before we get to all the fun tonight, last week we had kind of some surprise news, I guess you say, out of the MAC with Versailles coach Scott McEldowney actually stepping down from his position. Got another surprise announcement at the beginning of this week, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, Craig. Longtime Minster head boys basketball coach Mike Lee, Craig, has announced his resignation. He's been the head coach of the Wildcats for 23 years. Great guy over there, Craig. He's been a great mentor to those young high school basketball players. He's a principal at the high school, and he's just had a phenomenal career at Minster. So congratulations, Coach Lee, on your 314 career victories, 6 district championships, and state semifinalists in 2005. He'll be missed by the Minster community, by the Minster basketball program, and good luck in your future endeavors.
It's going to take a little bit of getting used to over there in Minster, but we certainly know what that's all about with a longtime coach, and I'm sure they'll be just fine next year.
I'm sure they will.
All right, Ken, well, let's get to things. Like I said, we've been doing this now for 5 years. 5 years, 150 episodes, as we mentioned. A lot of fun interviews. I know we've talked about this before, but some interviews we don't remember quite as much, and other interviews are not forgettable at all, that's for sure. But we, like I said, we ranked our top 10, and this was, I'm not sure if this was based on Nielsen rankings, NK Telco rankings, or perhaps maybe just YouTube hits, but wanted to bring in the guys in the sound room for this one. And guys, you've been there for all 10 of these top episodes, and it's been a lot of fun for us. Hope it's been the same for you.
Oh yeah, lots of fun back here trying to keep all that stuff balanced and in control, flipping levers and buzzers and all sorts of stuff to get all the feeds and keep people in line and keep audio up.
Yeah, we've had a couple guys that sound like they were talking out of caves or in bathrooms or in outhouses, but I think we got her all dialed in, TK.
You guys do a great job back here.
It's always a learning experience. I know that. It seems like from show to show. So.
Yeah, it is. We've had people, like you said, Heavy D, sound like they're in caves. We've had people had to drive to Walmart to get better receptions. We had it all over the place. So we've had a lot of fun over the years, and hard to believe it's 150 shows.
Let's get this top 10 thing started, guys, and we'll start out with number 10. It came from season 2, episode number 44. We had the Russia cheerleaders, a video of them on the show, and we had a couple senior stars over in Tri-Village, a guy by the name of Kyle Pippinger, and then another star over in Anna by the name of Natalie Billing. And that star power between Pippinger and Billing, I think, was the reason for that show being so big.
Absolutely, Craig. Kyle Pippinger, Craig, of course, one of the all-time greats over there at Tri-Village, and Natalie Billing, arguably one of the best high school girls basketball player in the history of the Shelby County League. So congratulations to those two on making our top 10.
I think that year Natalie actually took the Anna Rockets, won a state championship, and Kyle Pippinger, I feel like that was the year that Tri-Village kind of started coming on the scene with having a bunch of good basketball teams. That he kind of kicked things off, I think, over there in Tri-Village.
Absolutely did.
So let's move ahead to number 9, guys, and that was back in season 3, episode number 92. Fort Laramie baseball coach Bill Sturwald was in the process of leading his team to the regional semis. I think they eventually got beat by Crestview that year. And then we had another interview with a former high school star. She had since gotten married and became a doctor, but we talked to her about her high school days, and I think we have a video clip of that. Glad you could join us for our season finale tonight. We just read off that impressive high school resume of yours from your days at Minster. Looking back on those years, Sonny, it's been 10 years now. What are a couple things that maybe had contributed to your personal success back then?
Oh, gosh. Most certainly my support group, I would say. My teammates, we had such a great group of dedicated athletes at Minster when I was in high school. Definitely my parents, my coaches. I think we're so fortunate at Minster to have the coaches that we do. Jessie Megato, I kind of credit her with being the mastermind behind a lot of my training. And finally, I guess, it was a lot of intrinsic motivation on my part, I think. During my junior and senior year, when I was kind of at the peak of my game, so to speak, I was pretty meticulous about kind of my training, both physical and mental, sleeping, resting, all of that stuff. So I think a lot of these factors set me up for success.
All right, and that was a lot of fun, that interview. I always enjoy talking to those elite runners and finding out what makes them so special. That was actually our season finale back on season 3. Never forget that interview.
I had a chance to visit Memorial Field over there in Minster a year or so ago, and they've got a nice little area where they've got bricks and pavers of all the state champions, and I started looking, and I saw Sonny Olding, 19
right.
bricks with her name on it. That's impressive.
That's pretty impressive. Coach Sturwald was also very good on the show that night. He's had a great run over there at Fort Laramie, high school boys baseball coach, Russia alumni. It was always nice getting Bill on our show and Coach Sturwald, and who knows, maybe we'll get him on again this spring.
Sounds good. Let's move ahead, guys, to number 8. And this was a show that just happened recently, season 5, episode number 145, Sydney basketball coach Andy Slaughter.
That was a great interview, Craig. I really enjoyed talking to Coach Slaughter, especially about his young phenom star, Andre Gordon, the freshman over there at Sydney High School. He's a high flyer, Craig. He's one of the top players in Ohio. Be interesting to see what happens to him down the road.
I think we had a lot of Sydney viewers that night, and that's what contributed to that being number 8. Let's move ahead to number 7. Had an action-packed show for that one. We had Russia cheer coach Brandy Flippo on that show, did an interview with her, as well as a couple Fort Laramie basketball stars, I guess, or a star and a coach, but Craig Fullenkamp, senior Craig Fullenkamp, was on our show that night, as well as Coach Carl Ratterman, and talked to those guys about their successful season they were having that night. And let's move ahead, guys, now to number 6, and that was season 3, episode number 68, another action-packed show. We had a sophomore running star over in Covington by the name of Carly Shell, and then Ken and I took a trip to Coldwater to talk to their running star over there, Sarah Kenny, as well as a football star, Brody Hoyne, and let's see what Ken had to say with Brody.
Brody, Coldwater has the tradition of being one of the top football programs in the state. What is it in Coldwater that carries that tradition on, from the players to the coaches to the parents?
Growing up as a kid, you always watched your favorite players on Friday nights, and you're always like, wow, I really want to be like him. So now I'm up here, I'm looking at those little kids thinking that's where I was. I just want to set the tone to set the tradition, just like the older guys did when I was their age.
Yeah, Brody did a nice job that night, Craig. Real interesting to talk to him about Coldwater football, kind of getting some of the ins and outs of that. You know, he's on Eastern Michigan right now, suffered a knee injury, I believe it was, this year. Kind of set him back a little bit, but he'll rebound from that. I'm sure he'll do well.
All right, guys, let's move ahead to number 5, and that was Season 4, Episode number 106. Had a rookie head coach over there in Jackson Center, girls head coach by the name of Scott Dosek, who, oh, by the way, just happens to be in the state tournament this weekend. And then we did an interview over in Versailles, took a trip to Versailles, talked to their head coach over there, Scott McEldowney, who we just mentioned at the top of the show, and a senior star over there by the name of Kyle Arns, who ended up setting a lot of records there after he finished in Versailles. Let's move ahead, guys, to number 4, and that was Season 4, Episode number 108. Very big show there. Talked to a couple of future college stars, one by the name of A.J. Harris, who, as everyone well knows, went to Ohio State, is their point guard over there right now, and then a future Duke Blue Devil by the name of Luke Kennard, and let's check out that interview with him. I guess if you had to pick one or two of your biggest accomplishments from basketball right now, what would you say those would be?
Man, I mean, you know, this past season we had a pretty good year. But myself personally, I mean, I think, you know, winning that Mr. Basketball, the Ohio Mr. Basketball, was, you know, a pretty big accomplishment for me. You know, not only was it great for me, but, you know, the entire school and the basketball program and, you know, the entire community. So, you know, I think winning the Mr. Basketball was probably my biggest accomplishment. And I'm just very, very blessed to have that, you know, opportunity.
Craig, interesting, Craig, to listen to Luke Kennard talk there, because he's obviously doing very well at Duke right now. You know, it's kind of neat to see how he would roll from that high school transition to a big-time college basketball player. Obviously, he's done very well.
Yeah, you look at high school athletes in basketball that score 1,000 points. That young gentleman scored 2,997. 3 times what you think is phenomenal, and he did that. 3 points shy of 3,000 points.
Yeah, he was something else, and I'm glad I got a chance to watch him. Glad I got a chance to talk to him on this show. So, all right, guys, let's move ahead to number 3, and that was our oldest show, I guess, on the top 10 countdown. Back in Season 2, Episode number 32, had a father-daughter coach runner, Tim Atkinson and Brittany Atkinson from up there at Liberty Center. They had just previously, the season before, won a state championship in cross country, a team state championship. Went on that season to win their second state championship, and the next year won a 3rd consecutive state championship. So a real fun interview there. But perhaps the biggest draw that night was a star over there in Minster by the name of Ethan Wolf, and I think we have a clip on Ethan.
Hi, I'm Ethan Wolf, a junior football player at Minster High School, and Fish Report Live starts now.
Craig, I remember throwing that pass, and I said it back then. I'll say it again. You see where I put that, so nobody else could catch it. But I want to tell you one thing about Ethan Wolf, guys. I'm going to tell you right now, that guy's going to be playing football on Sundays. He's got great hands. He's fast. He's got good size. He had 2 good years at Tennessee. Look for him to be wearing a professional uniform in a couple years.
Yeah, I know you've always taken a little bit of credit for his success down there in Tennessee. So during that interview, we actually talked to him about his college choices, and he mentioned a number of schools, one of them being Cincinnati, and didn't mention Tennessee at the time, but that's eventually, of course, where he went. And like I said, a lot of fun talking to him that night.
Yeah, Cincinnati's coach actually went to Tennessee, and that had a lot to do with the transition there. So, but great football player. Good luck to him in the SEC this coming fall.
All right, guys, we're narrowing it down. We got down to number 2, and a big show that night. Talked to Botkin's coach, Brett Meyer. They were in the middle of, or had just gotten to it, I think 8-1 at that point. That was back Season 2, Episode number 42. We were 8-1 that year. Went on to finish 2nd in the SCAL. But I think the biggest draw that night might have been the next guest, Vanya Brandt. And I know a lot of people out there are probably saying, Vanya Brandt, I don't remember that athlete playing at all, but I think you may remember when we show you this clip.
Hi, my name is Vanya Brandt. I'm a 2005 graduate from Rushi High School, and I am now currently one of your Cincinnati Bengals. Ladies?
Fish Report Live starts now.
TK, what do you think? Was the bigger draw Brett Meyer that night, or perhaps Vanya Brandt?
It might have been Vanya Brandt and the Bengals, but just barely by 1 or 2 viewers, I think, at that point.
I think that was the same season. Craig, you coerced me or convinced me that I should do Heavy D's Outdoor Adventure.
That's right.
Where Ken smelled the doe urine and about threw up.
Yeah.
And right before that was Vanya's interview, and she had 97 hits that night, and that was, or we did Heavy D's Outdoor Adventure, and we had 97 hits, and then Vanya came in, I think, right behind me and just like quadrupled me, and I hung it up after that.
Yeah, the Fish Report telemetrics, as we like to call them, they really lit up after that episode, that's for sure. But, guys, there was one more show that did a little bit better than that. And coming in at number 1, the all-time most-watched Fish Report live shows, we had back on Season 2, episode number 45, we had a Fort Laramie cheer video. We had basketball official Terrell Collier on the show. Had a fun interview talking to him about high school basketball. But there was a young sophomore star at Versailles that was just starting to make headlines by the name of Kyle Arns. And I think one of the reasons our telemetrics lit up so much that night was because of this video.
Coming back.
Some fun stuff there, and we got he set a couple of those dunks up for us. I think it took a couple takes on those shots, but that was a time when I don't think you saw those kind of dunks. I've seen a few. You talked about Andre Gordon. You see guys like that dunking, and we had a couple nice dunkers in around the area last year. But that was the first time I can remember a guy being able to do a 360 like that so effortlessly. And of course, he's playing now, playing college basketball, getting ready to dance. Actually,
yeah, actually, over there at Michigan State, and he's a great high school basketball player, Craig. And I'll tell you what, that night too, Terrell Collier did a great job. I remember that interview specifically. Really fun to talk to a very good basketball official. He's still one of my favorite officials. Every time I walk into the gym when he's there, I always look forward to watching him. He just calls a very professional game. So, yep, there's our list of top 10, Craig. I remember them all well. I'm sure the guys in the sound room and yourself do as well. A lot of fun. Brings back a lot of good memories.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it's hard to believe it's been 5 years, but a lot of good shows over the years. We remember most of the interviews, maybe not every one. Every once in a while we have to recall if we interviewed somebody or not, but we remember most of those interviews.
That's right.
So if you that's going to do it for our top 10 episode segment there. If you like something we had to say, or you don't like something we had to say, we'd like to hear about it. There's our Fish Report Twitter handle at the top of the screen there, at @fish_report. Send us a tweet. We'd love to hear from you. All right, we're going to take a short break now, guys, but hang in there, because when we come back, we're going to talk a live interview with a new guest, and that is Jim Dabbelt from the Dabbelt Report. We'll be right back.
Stage at the leaving van. Music starts at 8 o'clock. You can find us here every Wednesday night. It's usually the same cats every week, but I can't tell you all their names. Teacher, cat, and a junkie, all waiting for time to play. Everybody here's got something that we're trying to leave behind. We're all a little broken, looking for a place to hide. Get no answers, don't ask any questions. We're all here just looking for a high. broken here tonight.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to the second half of Fish Report Live. And before the break, we were reminiscing on our top 10 shows ever in the past 5 years. Ken, now we're actually going to get to a new interview and talk to a new guest. We're going to get right to things here. Our next guest is Jim Dabbelt, from the author of the famous Dabbelt Report, considered Ohio's premier girls basketball website. Jim is completing his 31st year covering girls basketball in Ohio. He's also the sports editor for KBA News, which is the New Carlisle News, the Tippecanoe Gazette, the Enid Eagle, and the Troy Tribune. We're happy to have him live on the phone right now. Jim, welcome to Fish Report Live, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys. It's an honor to be with you guys tonight.
All right. Well, listen, I'm glad we could get a little bit of your time tonight. I know this is a busy week for you. You got the girls' state tournament coming up this weekend. You also did a preview show with the OHSAA, so we're not interrupting anything tonight, are we?
No, actually, it's kind of ironic, but coming down with a cold or something, this is not the time of year to get sick, not before the state tournament starts. So I'm hoping this is just a real quick bug, and I'm ready to go this weekend. But, it's going to be an exciting time in Columbus.
It sure is. And listen, we on this show like to kind of focus on the Southwest region. In particular, we like to talk about small school basketball. And, of course, one team we're excited about is the Jackson Center Lady Tigers are playing in Columbus on Friday. And, Jim, I want to ask you, at the beginning of the season, did you predict this? I mean, were the Lady Tigers on your radar at all?
The key is not necessarily how much you win, it's when you peak. And Jackson Center is peaking at the perfect time. They kept winning tournament games, and every time people would say they have no chance to win this one, and they just did. And they're well coached. They have a well-balanced scoring attack with a lot of weapons. Honestly, going into the year, teams like Fort Laramie, Minster, Marion Local, Tri-Village, Miami Valley, all have key returning players back. To be quite honest, Jackson Center was not on my radar at the start of the year. But the most important thing is to be there at the end of the year. And right now is the time they need to step up and play. And they're 2 games from bringing home the cold. And at this point, it's anybody's ball game. Yeah,
you're right. You would have had to been awful bold to predict Jackson Center to come out of that tough region over here. And their opponent on Friday night, Jim, is you're going to have to help me out with this one, but a team by the name of Fostoria. Is it St. Wendelin or St. Wendelin?
St. Wendelin.
St. Wendelin. And can you give us a scouting report on them? What do Tiger fans have to look forward to from that team?
They can look forward to Cameron Trioki, who signed with Kent State. I believe she's a 2,000-point scorer in her career. Along the way to the Final Four, they defeated the #1 ranked AP team in the state, Arlington. And with Cameron, they also have a girl named Allie Rudder, who's a senior guard. What they're going to look to do is they're going to look to get the ball inside to Trioki and work the offense inside out. They need to control the pace, limit Jackson Center to 1 shot. They have size inside and the ability to alter shots, but they don't have a lot of depth, and they will look to play solid defense with pressure, really to attempt to create turnovers against Jackson Center.
Jim, hi, this is Ken. We know Coach Dosek's going to be solidly focused on his game, but prior to his game at 1 o'clock, the Division IV semifinal has Waterford versus Willoughby Cornerstone Christian. Is this the game the Tiger fans ought to get there early to watch? Is this going to be a good one?
Cornerstone, I'll be the first to admit, I had no idea they even were going into the state tournament. This is their first ever appearance in the Final Four. They have a couple of very nice, talented guards in seniors Jordan Coonan and Ashley West. I think they got to handle the pressure, which Waterford will pressure them, and they got to make their shots. And if they're a team that, if they get on a roll, they can do a lot of damage. They love to get out and go. They want to score fast and play fast, but they got to rebound. They got to win the boards. Waterford lost in the Final Four last year, and wants to control the tempo against Cornerstone and get the ball to their scores. The thing is, the best thing for them is to look to execute in a half-court offense and use their defense, which is really one of the best in Ohio.
Jim, let's talk a little bit about the regular season. I know it's the postseason. I know it's a state championship week here, but you saw a lot of girls basketball games over the year. particularly in the Southwest region that we're located. What was your impression of the talent individually and collectively as teams go of the talent this year compared to previous years?
You know, the talent in Southwest Ohio right now, and honestly, I thought the last couple of years that the overall talent's been a little bit down as far as number of talented players, but it picks right back up with an abundance of very skilled freshmen and sophomores. We have a lot of good kids in those classes. We have a large number of kids, actually, that will play at some level in college. So I think the future looks bright. You know, Dayton's always been a hotbed in Ohio for girls basketball. Southwest Ohio, in my opinion, is the best year in, year out for the top teams in Ohio. Last year, they've swept all 4 state championships. Now, for sales, you know, it's up in your area. It's technically Southwest Ohio, even though, you know, some people up there will claim them as well. And same with Fort Laramie, for that matter. I mean, can you imagine having 2 state champions that close together? And all 4 state champions within 80 miles of each other. So that's pretty impressive, to say the least, in this area. Now, this year, of course, we'll have, you know, only Alter and Mason to possibly come out of here because Versailles got beat in the regional finals, and so Fort Laramie. Well, I'm sorry, Jackson Center, of course. But Fort Laramie got beat in the regional finals to Jackson Center. So we were certainly going to have somebody from D4 at state. But, you know, this year, or last year was a special year, having all the 4 teams win the state title. And I think it could pick back up. You know, we got some young kids. Wayne's all young. Wayne's starting 5 are all freshmen and sophomores this year. And they went pretty far in the tournament as well. So I look for a lot of talent to, you know, next year as the freshman and sophomore class gets older. The basketball in this area is going to be really outstanding. And that's not to say Minster and Marion Local and Fort Recovery, you know, what a great year those teams had up there. I mean, they're all talented. And, you know, it's really, you know, honor for me to, even though I kind of cover all of Ohio indirectly, it's an honor for me to be able to cover these teams on a day-to-day basis because we're just so talented down here.
Well, speaking of all that young talent, Jim, that kind of leads into our last question. And I understand you will be showcasing some of those underclassmen in a tournament that you're hosting later this month. Can you tell us what that's all about?
Yeah, I decided to kind of bring a new tradition to the Miami Valley by doing something that no one's done before in history. This event is put on at no cost to the kids. The kids just show up and play. So they'll not only be able to play alongside other top kids that me never play with, but also there's several college coaches that are already knocking at the door to be here for this because we got some big-time kids. Many of the elite kids will be here, and this is really an event like no other here in Dayton. An all-star game is about the kids. Everybody wants to be a part of any first event, quote, unquote, and we filled 40 spots in about 4 days. So, you know, it's going to be pretty exciting. You know, the biggest reason to put an all-star game on for underclassmen is basically just so the kids get an opportunity to get exposure. Like I said, and ironically, that is the day before the Division I NCAA Final Four in Indianapolis. So there's a lot of schools that will be coming through D2s and below that are driving over to the Final Four from like the East Coast, Pennsylvania and West Virginia, that have already said, you know, it's right on the way. We'll stop, stop halfway, watch some basketball, and then drive over the next morning. So the timing is perfect. There's a lot of, and ultimately everybody who's in this for the right reason is in it so these kids can get an education down the road in the future. So, that's the whole ultimate reason behind an all-star game of this magnitude. Like the seniors, they have their all-star game, but the underclasses never had it. Some like it, some don't, but it's irrelevant who likes it or doesn't because it's about the kids, and the college coaches will love it, and they will be, and hopefully it goes well, and, everybody stays healthy and has a good time, and it becomes a tradition down the road.
Jim, listen, you do a great job covering girls basketball in this area and all over the state of Ohio. And, we appreciate all your efforts you put into the media reports, the all-star game, all the coverage you give these teams and individuals. And, good luck this weekend. Enjoy the state tournament. I hope your cold gets better so you're feeling 100%. And, we appreciate you being on our show tonight with us.
Tell everybody at Jackson Center the best of luck. Enjoy the experience, because there's a lot of teams that wish they were in your shoes right now. So as fans that listen to the show right now or replays, go up and enjoy Columbus, because, like I said, this some kids never get the opportunity to do this. You guys are very lucky. So enjoy the weekend.
Thanks, Jim. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, that was Jim Dabbelt from the Dabbelt Report, and tried to get him on the show last season during the regional tournament. Unfortunately, he was very busy. He gets to a lot of games, and like you said, offers a lot of coverage for girls basketball. So glad we could line him up this year.
He definitely knows his girls basketball, Craig. You know, he's been covering it for 31 years. And, you know, he has a passion for it, and that's great. And, you know, he does a good job.
All right. Well, we're running just a little bit over tonight, but that's okay. It's our 150th show. Well, we're allowed to do that. Do want to go back to that sound room. And before the show started, we were talking, and I think Heavy D wants to take a little credit for something a couple weeks ago. We skipped our Five for Fighting tonight segment because we were doing the top 10 shows. But a couple weeks ago, we were making some predictions on this show, and I think yourself, myself, and TK back there all picked the Fairlawn Jets to beat Jackson Center, the Jackson Center boys, and Heavy D, you were the smart one.
Jackson Center Tigers, do not underestimate the tenacity and the energy that Coach Scott Elkert brings to that team.
We underestimated him, I think.
I agree. I kudos to Heavy D, and you know, I'll say, you know, you look at Jackson Center's tournament run here. Coach Elkert, I think they beat Fairlawn by 1 point. They won the district championship game by 3 points, maybe. And regional semifinal game, they were down 9 points, came back and won by 7. It's defense, defense, defense for Coach Elkert. Heavy D, you stuck with him. Good job. Best of luck to the Tigers this weekend.
Didn't he have a victory over in Jackson Center this week with the 5th grade Jackson Center Tigers?
You know, last week on this show, I was kind of popping off about the 5th grade, the Russia 5th grade team. I think I showed a trophy on the table here and everything, and giving Heavy D a hard time. and you know, I must have jinxed the 5th grade Russia Raiders, because we went over to Jackson Center, and Scott Elkert's 5th grade team handed it to us in the Final Four there on Sunday.
Well, I got to say, Craig, I witnessed it. I was there. I had to see the head man at the Fish Report coaching against the defensive legend and Coach Elkert. And Craig, I got to give you kudos though. Your team played well. They did great. Coach Elkert's team just had a little bit too much for you down the stretch.
I think he was toying with me. I think he was just toying with me, trying to make me feel good.
I don't know.
All right, well, listen, one more thing to get to, and that is tonight's poll question. Ken, why don't you read that to the viewers again, and TK will check the telemetrics.
To our viewers out there, what is your favorite way to watch Fish Report live? Is it live on the Fish Report page, replays on YouTube, NK Telco channel, or Gameface Ohio? TK, what do the telemetrics have to say?
Well, looking at the telemetrics right now, 75% say they like to watch it live, but I think that's probably skewed because those that don't watch it live aren't voting right now, so I'm not sure.
Well, we'll leave that poll question up for a couple weeks. We're going to take a little break here, ending our winter sports season tonight. We're going to take a 2-week break, come back at the end of March, and maybe when we come back, we'll see what the results in that poll question are at that time.
Sounds good. Well, listen, I'd like to personally thank the guys in the sound room, and especially this guy right here. All the hard work you do, 150 shows, that's awesome. And sound room guys, how about we give it up for Fish Report a little bit here?
Yeah. All right. Well, we couldn't. It's a fun crew here. We certainly wouldn't do it if it was by myself, and have a lot of fun with you guys. But that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. Do want to say special thanks to our guest Jim Dabbelt for joining us on the show. Like I said, Ken, I, and the crew, we're all going to take a couple weeks off and be back at the end of March. Until then, have a great rest of March, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Hanging at the Fish Report. 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 For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the Fish Report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull, when you tune in to the Fish Report. Hanging at the Fish Report.